pen?
A scribbling stick.
Scribbling stick.
Item number 8, it's not quite the last one, it's almost the last one.
Probably when we get there, we'll all be confused.
Yeah.
All right, do you have your electronic device out? Is it time?
28.
2 minutes?
5:28.
No, 2 minutes.
Now it's 29 minutes.
Thank you. I like having someone keep me on my toes.
Careful what you ask for.
Yes.
You forgot who you're married to, didn't you?
We're being broadcast, Mr. Weber,
You are married, aren't you?
and he's watching.
Oh, just watch these?
He does.
Does he
It's his
really?
Entertainment for the evening? One viewer for the evening.
I suspect he's probably multitasking.
Oh, gotcha.
I think we're ready.
It's not 30 yet. It's 29.
Nelson.
Now it's 30.
The July 26th meeting of the North Platte Planning Commission will come to order. We will start with roll call.
Davies, Winder, Fudge,
Here.
Bing,
Here.
Weber,
Here?
McGann,
Here.
Jett,
Here.
Forbes, and Whirl. Okay, a quorum is present.
Current copy of the Open Meetings Act of Nebraska is posted at the back of the council chambers. Item number 2 is the approval of the minutes of our special meeting, which was held May 31st, 2022, and you should all have received a copy of that.
Make your motion to approve as presented.
A second.
Motion by Mr. Fudge, second by Mr. Bain. To approve the minutes, any discussion? Vote. And the minutes are approved. Thank you. Item number 3 is to discuss and consider action on a request to vacate a 16-foot alley between West 14th Street and West 13th Street, more particularly the alley on the south side of lots 1 to 5 of Bukowski's Replat, North Platte, Nebraska, and the north side of lots 6 through 10 of Bukowski's Replat, North Platte, Nebraska. And Judy.
Okay, and you should have all received a copy of the review comments. Attached to that, I just gave you a copy of the ordinance. We don't pass that, city council does, but just to give you an idea of where it is. And then also a location map. The yellow highlighted area, which is the alley that is running east and west, south of 14th Street, north of 13th Street, would be the one that is requested to be vacated. The applicant is requesting the alley vacation to allow a lot consolidation, which would provide them with the ability to construct an accessory building on that lot that's to the south. The alley currently is not used for sanitation removal. Refuse is collected in the street. However, the city does have a sewer line that is located in that alley, so we would need to retain a 16-foot utility easement. Planning staff has no objection to the requested alley vacation, providing the 16-foot is retained as a utility easement. It does not look like the individual requesting the vacation is here, but I will try and answer any questions that you may have.
Is that easement currently in place?
The alley or
The
the utility?
The utility easement?
No, it's just a dedicated alley, so there's not a utility easement in there, but generally alleys are where we will see utilities that run down, because that's city right away.
Do the adjoining owners get notified, or
Yes, the adjoining owners do get, notification, because then that property does go back to them. I believe these were sent letters, nobody responded or seemed to be concerned with that. The person requesting is, the property owner at 3018, and then he also owns the 2 lots on the south side, 6 and 7, lot 6 and 7.
3018. Okay.
lot 4?
Oh, 3018.
So I drove out there today.
Okay.
There's a fence across what would be the alley and the utility easement. So, and there's power poles that run down through there as well. So I assume that utility easement would also be for the electric department.
Yeah, we wouldn't specify it as a, water utility, we'd specify it as just a utility easement. That way it would cover water, sewer, electric, gas, if the gas is in there.
Because at the moment, I don't know how they need a road grader to get, or a bulldozer to get through there.
Yeah, it's not an alley that's utilized for traffic at all.
It's a part of 13th Street that's pretty much unknown.
Yeah, it wasn't on Google Maps, by the way.
Oh, no,
You gotta catch the
you gotta
street
go find
that
it.
says 13th is this,
Yep.
or the sign
Yep.
that says 13th is this way.
So just as a point of order, if there was something wrong in there and the electric department or the sewer department had to go down there, who's responsible for clearing out the fence and everything else that's currently in that easement?
The city administrator's here, so please correct me if I'm incorrect. But I believe the way that it works is if we needed to get in there and dig or do whatever it is, replace utilities, the city would go in there, clear whatever is in their way. Generally, we try to work with the property owners and tell them, hey, we're gonna be in here, you need to move your fence, but if they don't move the fence, then we would go in, take it out, do whatever construction needed to be done. And then it would be their responsibility as to whether or not they replaced it.
Brick.
So if they do decide to put in, they're putting in an accessory building in there, is that, they want to put a building in there?
Yeah, what they're wanting to do is consolidate the north lot with the south lot and put an accessory building on there, so like a garage. Right now, the way it works in a residential neighborhood, you cannot put just a garage on a residential lot by itself. It has to have a main building, which is your residential structure. So in order for him to construct a garage on that south property, he would have to do a subdivision to consolidate those two lots together, and then he could put up the second structure. or
But he
the
couldn't
accessory.
build over the top of that utility easement, correct?
No, we would not issue
Okay,
a
that was my
permit
question.
to build over top of the utility easement. Now, the fence that was put in there, I mean, I couldn't tell you without looking to see if they even got a fence permit, but we do not typically issue permits to build over, alleys or easements. They are not supposed to do that. Now, how that got in there, when it got in there, I couldn't tell you that.
So the way you describe it, it's already a vacated alley.
There's the fence, there's the power poles, and I think the alley's supposed to run right through there, but there's any myriad of,
That looks like the alley right
Yep.
there.
there's any myriad of things in the way of, I mean, if they needed to get in there, they'd, might be kind of fun getting in there.
So it's already looks like a vacated alley.
Already,
Yeah,
for all intents and purposes, it's vacated the way it is.
I would agree.
But I didn't know how that worked, because
Yeah, that's, you know, you keep your utility easement so that we need to get in there, or it's the gas company, that takes first right, and everything else that's in the way. You try to work with it, but it's gotta go, cause you have to, you know, take care of something, a main break or a line down or whatever.
Cause it's there illegally anywhere.
Technically, yes, it is
Right.
illegal anyway.
It's across
It should
an
not
alley.
be there. It's across an alley.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would move to approve the request to vacate a 16-foot alley between West 14th Street and 13th Street, more particularly the alley on the south side of lots 1 through 5, Bukowski's Replat, North Platte, Nebraska, and the north side of lots 6 through 10, Bukowski's Replat, North Platte, Nebraska, and retaining a 16-foot utility easement.
Second.
Has been moved by Fudge, seconded by Jet. Any discussion, any further discussion? Roll call vote. The motion carries. Okay. Item number 4. Discuss and consider action on a request to vacate a 16-foot alley between East Second Street and East Johnson Street on the east side of Lot 1, Frederic Subdivision, and the east side of Lot 12, Johnson's Replat, and the west side of Lot 2, Mcgowan First Replat, North Platte, Nebraska. And you should have information there. Judy?
Again, you should have received the review comments, a map with highlighted in yellow the alleys to be requested to be vacated, and then a copy of the ordinance that would go on to city council. Again, the applicant is requesting the alley vacations to allow a lot consolidation, which would provide him with the ability to construct an accessory building on the property. The alleys currently are not used for sanitation removal. Refuse is collected in the street. However, the city has a sewer line that's located in the alley running east and west from Welch to the north and south alley on the east side, and would like to retain that east and west 16-foot as a utility easement. Planning staff has no objections to the requested alley vacation, providing that the 16-foot is retained on the east and west alley. The north and south alley, there's no utilities in there, but the east and west, there is a sewer line. Again, I don't see that the individual requesting the vacation is here, but I'll answer any questions if I can.
This one isn't quite so cluttered, but there's a bunch of stuff over there too.
It is. This individual, actually, the address requesting it is 1820. So it's the one closest to the north-south alley. He owns that lot, and then I believe also lots 11 and 12. And so those are the lots he's wanting to consolidate.
So he owns 2, 11, and 12?
1, 11, and 12.
11 and 12.
Everybody affected was notified, no.
Those individuals were notified. I did get a couple of questions. They were afraid if we were vacating Johnson Street, which we were not. It was the alley, but that's the only concern that I got back from them.
I guess I should have asked the question the first time. Is anybody here on this one at all?
No.
Oh, it's not a public hearing anyway, never mind. My bad.
And no, nobody is here unless they want to talk, I guess.
Unless you have questions for whoever might be sitting in the audience.
I think they were answered the first go-round.
Any other comments or questions?
I move to approve the request to vacate a 16-foot alley between East Second Street and East Johnson Street from Welch Avenue east on the south side of lots 1 through 6. Fredericis, am I saying that correct?
Yes.
Subdivision and north side, and the north side of lots 7 through 12 Johnson's Replat, North Platte, Nebraska, and a request to vacate a 16-foot alley between East Second Street and East Johnson Street on the east side of the Lot 1 Fredericis subdivision and the east side and the east of Lot 12 Johnson's Replat, and the west side of Lot 2 Mcgowan's first replat, North Platte, Nebraska, retaining a 16-foot utility easement between East Second Street and East Johnson Street.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bain, motion by Mr. Fudge, second by Mr. Bain. Any questions or comments, discussion? Not, let's vote. Motion carries. Okay. Agenda item number 5 is a public hearing. File number AM 22-004, discuss and consider action on an application by Jim and Laura Carlson for an amendment to the North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011, future land use amending property from residential, medium-density, single duplex, and multifamily to commercial located at 1801 East 2nd Street and described as the west 172.4 feet of the south 112 feet of Lot 55, Platteview Subdivision, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. This is a public hearing, and so if you're here to speak on that file number, then please come to the podium, identify yourself, give your address, and tell us what you want to tell us, and we'll go from there.
And
Judy,
again-
did you have any comments?
Yes, you should have all received a copy of the review comments and the North Platte's Comprehensive Plan 2011 Future Land Use Map with the proposed change on there. Items 5 and 6 on the agenda do involve the same property. So if you would like to discuss them together, we should probably open the other public hearing also. That is up to you.
It's the same.
It's the same
Piece of property.
Yep.
Let us open the public hearing for file number Z22-002 to discuss and consider action on an application by Jim and Laura Carlson to rezone those certain lands from an R2 dwelling district to a B2 highway commercial district on property located at 1801 East 2nd Street, described as the west 172.4 feet of the south 112 feet of Lot 55, Platteview Subdivision, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. As I understand, the public hearing can address either one of those issues. When we come to a motion, if the motion for number 5 does not pass, then number 6 is done.
That is correct.
Okay.
So, with that, you should have also received the review comments for the rezoning also. In order to rezone a property, it is the duty of the Planning Commission to ensure that the rezoning is in conformance with the current comprehensive plan. So the request for the amendment has been submitted in conjunction with the rezoning. The applicants are requesting the amendment to allow the change in zoning. Planning staff has no objections to the amendment. The area is bordered on the north by commercial and should not be a detriment to the surrounding area. The applicants are requesting the zone change to allow storage of construction materials and equipment for their drywall business. There will be no sales from the property or customers visiting the site. The applicants do not feel that the business would be detrimental to the area, as adjoining properties are commercial businesses. The site will allow the current business to expand and hire more employees in the future. Again, planning staff has no objections to this rezoning if the amendment has been approved. The area is bordered on the north by commercial businesses and should not be a detriment to the surrounding area. The applicants are in the audience if you have any questions. Otherwise, I would be happy to answer some also.
At this point, we're in the public hearing phase of this, so if anyone wants to speak to these issues, please feel free to come forward and identify yourself and your address. If not, then I would entertain a motion to close both public hearings.
I move to close both public hearings.
Mr. Jett made the motion, and Ms. Forbes, I want to call you something else. Seconded it. Let's vote. Any discussion? Let's vote to close the public hearings. Okay, the hearings are closed, and now we are able to discuss amongst ourselves.
Property owners across the streets notified.
Yep, everyone within 300 feet of the property have been notified. I did not receive any questions, any concerns from any of the neighboring property owners.
Well, in fairness, I think there's a non-conforming use straight east of this by a lot.
Okay.
Moreland Enterprises, and I'm not throwing them under the bus, but they set up their business right there.
Yeah, they're behind it.
Right. And I see that listed in the plan here as a residential.
Okay.
So we probably ought to, I don't know if we can initiate that flip but that's clearly a commercial use of that land going on right now.
Isn't it back here in this
Right here.
B2?
Oh, yeah, you're right, because they're this.
Yeah,
big
that's
one right here.
B2.
Well, but it's not listed as B2 here, it's listed as residential on the master plan. So if it's,
Here it's B2.
right,
Right, but it's not.
It's not on this.
Not on the amendment to the land use plan. Yep.
so we
We should
probably ought to
clean that up.
clean that up at some point. I just noticed that when I was driving out there today.
Judy, can you have that ready for us at our next meeting?
Yep, we can clean that up, no problem.
And this way we can take care of this lot tonight, and then,
Clean up that
Yeah,
land.
not opposed to it at all. I just
Yeah.
noticed that when I was out there today, that there was a commercial business on that lot, and it didn't line up with this.
Okay.
the first motion would need to be to,
Number 5, Frank.
The amendment.
Yep.
yes, to amend the comprehensive plan.
I move to approve file number AM 22-004, an amendment to North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011, future land use map to amend certain lands from residential, medium density, single duplex, and multifamily to commercial located at 1801 East 2nd Street.
There a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Jett, seconded by Bain. Any discussion? Let's vote. Yours didn't register.
Mr. Weber.
You have to talk to it nice.
I'm the first one to push it, that's what you get for being.
Motion carries. All right, we are ready for discussion on the
Number 6.
number 6, the rezoning. If not, motion.
I move to approve file number Z 22-002 to rezone certain lands from an R2 dwelling district to a B2 highway commercial district on property located at 1801 East 2nd Street, on property described as the west 172.4 feet of the south 112 feet of Lot 55, Platte View Subdivision, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jet, second by Bain. Any discussion? Vote. Motion carries.
Okay, and these will go to the city council meeting on August 2nd, at 5:30 with the positive recommendations for their approval.
Good luck.
Should be fine.
Okay, agenda item number 7 is also a public hearing for file number Z22-003. Discuss and consider action on an application by Joe Schoen to rezone certain lands from an A1 transitional agricultural district to an I1 light industrial district on property located at 3022 East Phillip Avenue and described as attractive land in the northeast quarter of Section 2, Township 13, North, Range 30 west of the 6th Prime Meridian, Lincoln County, Nebraska. And this is a public hearing, so, oh, do you have comments?
Sure.
Always forget that.
I do.
So again, this actually does involve items number 7 and number
And
8.
8.
This is a little bit different because, this first one is not contingent upon the second one. The only reason that they have to rezone the property from an A1 to an I1 is because, it's on a state highway. The state of Nebraska does not allow billboards unless it's in an industrial. Now, the city allows billboards as a conditional use in an ag property. So if you'd like to open both of them at the same time, you can discuss them at the same time, but if you want to take them separately, that's fine also. Any preference? Want to go separately?
Let's do it together.
Knock them out.
Knock 'em out.
Okay, so would you like to read the conditional use also?
She'd love to.
The next one, item 8, is also a public hearing, file number CU 22-001. Discuss and consider action on an application by Joe Schoen for a conditional use permit to allow a 10-foot by 24-foot electronic advertising billboard on property located at 3022 East Phillip Avenue on property described as attractive land in the northeast quarter of Section 2, Township 13 North, Range 30 west of the 6th Prime Meridian, Lincoln County, Nebraska.
Okay, and so I'll read through the rezoning comments first. Attached to that, you should see a site plan. Also kind of giving you a location of where that's going to be, and then a copy of the ordinance that will go on to city council. In order to rezone the property, it's the duty of the planning commission to ensure the rezoning is in conformance with the current comprehensive plan. I do apologize, I apparently did not attach that, but it is shown in the Lincoln County, or City of North Platte Comprehensive Plan as an industrial area. And so it is conforming to the comprehensive plan. The applicant's requesting the zone change to allow a conditional use application to install a 10 by 24 electronic advertising billboard on the property. Planning staff has no objections to the rezoning, as the request for rezoning is in conformance with the North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011 future land use map. The property is currently surrounded by industrially zoned property to the north, west, and east. There is agriculturally zoned property to the south. This area is prime for industrial development as it's located on the corner of East Phillip and Newberry Access. As the conditional use permit, the applicant is stating that he's planning to construct a 10 by 24 electronic advertising billboard on the property. It will be a steel supporting structure constructed 100 feet south of the intersection and 40 feet east of the property line in accordance with city requirements. There will be no increase in traffic and should not be a detriment to the character of the area since it is close to other industrial development. The billboard will allow local businesses and community organizations to notify the public of services and goods that they provide in the community. Again, planning staff has no objections to the conditional use application. The site is located in a high-traffic industrial zoned area and is prime location for future industrial development. The installation of a billboard would not be a detriment to the surrounding area. If you have any questions, the applicant is in the audience.
Okay, so again, because this is a public hearing, if you'll come to the podium and identify yourself with your address as well, and whatever you want to say to us.
Good evening, my name is Joe Shown, I'm the fellow that is asking that you give a conditional permit for this. My address is 9129 East Ealer Road, Stapleton, Nebraska. And don't know if you have any questions, but if you do, I'll be glad to answer them.
So at this point, what you're intending to do is put up the billboard,
That's correct.
not at this point. And then it could eventually be used for any kind of light industrial type things, right?
By rezoning it, yes, in the future, if he wanted to do some sort of an industrial development, yes,
He
he
could.
would be able to
Okay.
do that, yep, as long as it fits the I-1 light industrial district.
So stupid question from the new guy.
No, you're no longer new, that doesn't
You're not
count.
new anymore.
That's an old excuse.
Dang it. So because it flips to I, can they, I mean, it's a cornfield now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, can he still lease that out or do whatever he wants with ag right through there?
Yes,
Okay, in
That
the
would
interim
be-
until
Yeah.
it would be further developed.
yes, that is correct.
It's really the only question I had.
Anybody else? Well, that was
Okay.
short and sweet. huh?
Yeah, well,
Thanks for
We haven't
coming.
voted yet, so. Is there anyone else? Then let's have a motion to close, do we want, can we close both of them?
Yes.
So
Close
moved.
both of the public hearings, and that is a motion by Fudge.
Second,
Oh, Mr. Weber, a second. Any discussion? Vote on closing the public hearings. And the public hearings are closed. Okay, we will, let's first discuss the
Rezoning, yep,
rezoning.
yes.
Am I correct in assuming that that whole corridor, I don't see the future land use map, but that whole corridor's gotta be
Yes.
right
It
for
is.
I-2, I-1.
Yeah, and I apologize, I should have had that in the packet, but yes, it is all, essentially from, Highway 30 on the east side, and then on the west side also, all the way down basically to the interstate.
Does that include there's a house there, I think, right, basically closer to Bicentennial, but that would probably include that, wouldn't it?
Yes, it's on the corner, it does include that.
Okay.
It goes to about, where that, crematorium
Yep.
is, right there in the corner, yes.
Okay.
it's all
But
in
basically, that entire field is, okay, that's all I needed to know.
Okay, any other discussion? I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve file number Z 22-003 to rezone certain lands from an A1 agricultural district to an I1 light industrial district on property located at 3022 East Phillip Avenue, on property described as attractive land in the northeast 1/4 section 2, Township 13 North, Range 30 west of the 6th Prime Meridian, Lincoln County, Nebraska.
Is there a second?
second,
Moved by Fudge, seconded by Weber. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote. Motion carries. The next one is the one that Judy gave you the extra copy for, right?
Yes, with the large,
With the large, long motion. All right. This is on conditional use permit. Any discussion before we have a motion? What?
Huh?
You got a puzzled look on your face.
Have we ever looked at, as a city, like where and how we'd want billboards? I mean, I've seen some places where they grow like trees all over the place and,
Yeah, we have regulations for, signs, all different types of signs. Billboards, we do regulate a little bit as far as distances between billboards, especially, and there are certain, and that's why they do a conditional use, so we don't have them, you know, going up constantly. So there are distances that you have to stay away. There is another billboard fairly close to this one, but it does
That's
meet
north.
that distance requirement.
North of it?
Yeah, cause it's north of here, so it does meet that distance requirement, so we do regulate those. We probably haven't reviewed that ordinance in a number of years, so that could be something, once we get through the rezoning, we can go back and revisit those, but yeah.
what's the current setback from another sign
Oh,
off the top of your head?
I don't know if I know off the top of my head, something like 300 feet maybe?
Okay.
It might be a little bit more than that.
And I would assume there are also regulations about how high it has to be, so you aren't blocking traffic,
Views.
sight,
Yep.
the view and that kind of thing.
So the construction of this has to fit.
That, yes, and then we do also have some regulations on, since it's an electronic sign, that you can't like flash at a certain time period, those types of things, so we don't want it to be a detriment to drivers.
So no red flashing lights on those signs, even though I have seen them on some
They
signs.
do have some red flashing.
I know they
lights,
do.
But they have to not flash at a certain speed, so they can
Different
flash
than
a
the
little
police
bit, but
cars?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm,
it
yeah.
has to
Think
be
you're
different.
getting pulled over a lot, Mary?
No, no.
Red and blue together?
Until the 4th of July.
And there's, I think, on lights too, if they were lights on and
Yeah.
that
The way
kind of
that they're
thing.
pointed
Right.
and all kinds of things like that, yeah.
But no specific recommendations on any conditions.
I did not receive any from any of the staff, and again, I didn't receive any concerns from neighboring property owners either.
I would move that we find the request for a conditional use permit to allow a 10x24 electronic advertising billboard on property located at 3022 East Phillip Avenue meets the minimum standards stated in the North Platte Code of Ordinances, Section 156.322, and approve and grant the conditional use permit requested. In sentence.
Keep going.
Well,
With the
Base,
condition?
Yeah.
oh, dang it, I forgot about that. Based on the conditions, all elements of the application are compiled with, based on the use shall conform to all applicable ordinances, laws, and regulations of any governmental jurisdiction. The use shall have adequate water, sewer, and drainage facilities. Ingress, egress shall be so designated as to minimize traffic congestion on public streets. The use shall, in all other respects, conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located, and the use shall be in harmony with the character of the area and the most appropriate use of the land. Period. That's better.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Motion by Fudge, second by Bain. Any other discussion? If not, let's vote. Motion carries. Mr. Schown, is that correct? I was paying attention.
This again will go to the city council meeting August 2nd at 5:30 with a positive recommendation.
Good luck.
Okay. Item number 9 is discussion of upcoming zoning map and zoning regulation amendments, home-based businesses, home occupations, special events district. And just a comment from me, I believe we do not have anything on special events district, is that correct?
Not currently. Currently, this would be a newly created district.
But we don't have any information right now.
Was it attached on here?
Should be. Oop.
I didn't find any,
Oh, I
Judy,
Okay.
so I'm thinking that we aren't.
Okay, we didn't have it on.
rough week.
It was a rough week, apparently.
So
Okay,
that
so-
eliminates item 3 of that
A
list.
little bit. Well,
Oh.
I'll talk about it a little bit, but I did put some proposed regulations in there. But let's go ahead and talk about the home occupation first. So, a couple of months back, we went ahead and did all the rezoning, for the residential. So now we're just gonna start with looking at some commercial. Now, home-based businesses and home occupations kind of go with the residential a little bit, but I decided to keep them in the commercial area. So when we're going through these, you wanna remember that home occupations and home-based businesses would be those types of businesses that would be allowed in residential districts and in ag districts. So that kind of puts a little, maybe a little bit of a different thought process behind that, because what are you going to tolerate as your neighbor running a business out of their home? So that's something you wanna look at when you're looking at those home occupations, is do you want a hairstylist beside you? And if so, how many people do you want in and out of that home occupation? Is it 1 chair, is it 3 chairs, that sort of thing. Right now, I handed these out, which is our current regulations for the home occupation. We do not have a difference currently between a home occupation and a home-based business. In these new regulations that these new kind of proposed regulations that I provided you with, there would be a difference between a home-based business and a home occupation. Basically, the intensity. So your home-based business is going to be less intense than your home occupation, if I remember correctly, or I may have that
I
backwards.
think you've got it backwards.
I think I have it backwards. The home occupation would be maybe a less intensive use than what a home-based business would be. So, do you want to allow a home occupation in all residential districts? Do you want to allow home-based businesses in all residential districts? Or would it be better to maybe home-based businesses are in an R3, but home occupations are in an R1 and an R2? That's something to think about. And have we opened it up too wide compared to how we have it right now? Basically, right now, there's items that are definitely not allowed as a home occupation. That would be appliance repair, auto repair, vehicle painting, sport utility repair, furniture manufacturing, auto parts salvage. Those are things that we currently do not allow as home-based businesses or home occupations. But it doesn't really define specifically what is allowed, because if you can meet performance standards, so if you can meet these current performance standards, which are no employment outside the family, incidental and secondary to the dwelling purpose, doesn't change the residential character, doesn't have outside storage, you're only allowed a 2-foot sign, doesn't generate more than 4 trips to and from the property a day, and there's no parking issues. But other than that, anything that's not considered a detrimental effect to the neighborhood can kind of be allowed right now. So,
In any
any residential.
residential district.
Yep,
So if I'm in
and
an,
ag district.
if I'm in an R1, someone could currently have in their home any one of these things you've outlined here,
More than likely.
like a
Or anything that's not listed in what's not allowed.
right,
Right. Which is pretty broad.
It's pretty broad.
yeah, I'm thinking a construction contractor, having that business out of my home in an R1, or,
And believe it or not, I know of one that has an office in an R1, and you would never know it.
which is what we would want
Right.
to have happen.
The problem that you run into is when you get, like that construction contractor. It's probably not a big deal if his office is there, he does all of his paperwork there, and he doesn't store equipment,
Yeah.
or doesn't store material, or doesn't have his employees coming in and out. You're probably fine with something like that. The problem is when you allow things like that, you tend to have people storing their equipment, storing their supplies, and having their employees coming in, clocking out. Or you have, 5 work trucks parked there, which kind of caused the problem too. So, I don't think we're probably gonna solve all the problems tonight, but that's just some things to really think about when we're going through this. What, you think about the area that you're in. If you're in an R1 district, what do you want beside you? What does your neighbor want beside them? So that's something to kind of think about when you're going through those. We have a lot of people doing, accounting in there, like taxes, they'll do those out of their homes. We have people currently that are architects that are out of their homes. People currently that have, firearms. Now, they don't actually sell the gun out of their home, but they will
They have
fix
enough
the
for
gun.
sale.
Service it.
They'll do mail order, that sort of thing. Those are typically the home occupations that we have right now.
Are
Now,
you
there's
gonna tell,
probably
are you
a lot
gonna,
of them out there that are illegal that have never came and got a permit, but
so according to this, I can't, be an Avon distributor?
not if you store all of your supplies on site. You should not be.
I'm not, but I'm just thinking.
Yeah, honestly, because you're not supposed to store
Or all the other
products.
ones that there
Yeah,
are, home interiors
Mary
and
Kay,
right.
Mary Kay, yeah, the
You
whole
can't
thing.
store any of that stuff at your house then.
On the current regulations, you are not supposed to store that stuff for sale on site.
So, stuff for sale, okay.
So just as if I'm an Avon rep and I order a bunch of product in for people who have already purchased it, it shows up in a UPS box and then I break it up and put it in bags and take it around town.
You're probably fine.
Okay,
Now, if you get all of that in, store it in your garage and keep it there for months, then technically you're breaking currently what our
make them all come pick it
regulations are.
up.
Yeah, make them all come pick it up, yeah.
That's even better, yeah, way to go.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to think about with that.
Well, it's really broad. It can get really broad.
And then there's a whole nother part of it that it was on the the proposed, or some of the suggestions. I think on the very last page, or second to the last page, I made a comment about, so who does the monitoring?
Judy?
Right now.
In her spare time, right? Or planning commission members go drive around town?
Yes, and that's basically, and
Oh,
you'll
whoops.
be surprised, a lot of the monitoring comes in from neighbors.
Right.
That is where
That's what I
we
was
get
just
a
gonna
lot
say,
of,
was the neighbors are gonna do the monitoring.
Yeah.
A lot of them do, and that's when we do get phone calls, but yes, then ultimately it comes to my office and I'm the one that ends up.
But I don't wanna,
taking care of
I don't
it.
wanna tell on my neighbor, because then my house will get egged.
Yeah, I'm like, no one likes a snitch.
That's right.
We don't tell them when Marilyn calls in, I don't say Marilyn is the one who turned you in.
thank you for reading that into the record. When
Yes,
Marilyn
yes,
calls in,
yes.
So my question is, the people with their Mexican food selling it every week on Facebook, I'm making enchiladas for my son to go to
Right.
Washington. Where does that fall in? Is that,
Well, if you're not technically a business and you're doing something like that and it's a one-time thing, I can't imagine why we would think that would, but if it's somebody who is doing that every weekend, and it's even,
There are some
continuous
people
garage
that do that
sales.
every
doing it
weekend.
every weekend?
Continuous garage sales, and we have a number of those in town. Are those technically a home-based business? Is that something that we need to look at regulating? Because, I did get a complaint from a neighbor whose neighbor has a continuous perpetual garage sale every
Do they
Saturday.
Every
give
weekend.
stuff out,
Yes,
or they
yes.
don't?
in some cases they do.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so that's another one.
And it's not getting stolen because everything else is getting stolen because town have been, their stuff not be.
Yeah, yeah. So that's, that's another thing.
And with the food thing, then you get into also, do they have a food van or a food truck or
Food
something
permit.
like that that has the advertising on it? And then I know there's some things in here about,
Advertising. Yeah.
your vehicle that has advertising on it.
So we, this can really balloon really huge, or we can try and,
Yeah.
And why can Nelson have his pickup in his driveway, and right next to him is someone who does food, and they want their food truck to be in their driveway.
Well, yeah, that's true. My truck's wrapped with all my logos.
So those are some other,
yeah, those are, I mean, it's a really sticky situation when you get into it and start looking at what you can and can't do, and then what areas, so if we say, okay, we're only going to do home occupations in an R1 and an R2 because it's less intrusive, but then in an R3, we're gonna allow home-based businesses. Now are you turning the R3 into more of a retail area, which maybe you don't want to do?
Do we have a best practice model from somewhere we can pick up and set down and at least have a starting point on this? Because I mean, draw X on wall, hit head until hurts. This is what this feels like, that
I can come
exercise.
back with some others and see, this is kind of what I came up with, but I will come back with some more and see if maybe we're getting a little bit too crazy with it, or if we're not being crazy enough with it. And then on the special events, and I'm sorry, it was just a one-pager, I'm not sure how we missed putting that on there. What the intent is to try and do with the special events district is to take properties like Scouts Rest Ranch, Nebraska Land Days Arena, their area, Lincoln County Fairgrounds, Lincoln County Museum. Currently, all of those, probably another one would be the race track, the race car track, those types of
DNN.
areas. Right
DNN
now,
event center.
CNN.
maybe. The DNN, I don't know if you want to do that. I mean, that's gonna be another one to kind of consider, because if you do that, where do you stop? So, the thing with this special events district, we've never had one before, but right now, all of those that I named are zoned ag. So, if they want to put up a building, they have to come in and get a conditional use permit to put up a building. If they want to do some sort of an expansion, or they want to, I mean, anything that they wanna do on their property, since they're in an ag district, and they are there
conditional
by
use, yeah.
conditional use, any little tiny thing they do, they have to get a conditional use permit to do it. So by creating this special events district, we wanna think about what types of things would we want to allow them just to come in and get a building permit and go build, versus forcing some organization like that to come in and get a conditional use permit for. Now granted, there's probably a few things we'd still maybe want to control, but maybe the majority of it would be, if you would need to build a ticket booth, build a ticket booth. If you need to build restrooms, build restrooms. If you need a concession stand, build it. Some of those things, I would think that you could almost just say, come in and get a building permit, instead of having to come through the conditional use process to do that, just to kind of make it a little bit easier for everybody involved. DNN, when we were kind of going through and looking at this, that was brought up, but if you go that far, what about another event center that wants to do something? So I don't know if the DNN would be one that we would want to put in this category, or if it would be just the things that I named, I'm not sure, so that's what we'd really want to think about too.
right now, is it in a industrial?
The DNN is in an industrial, yeah, so they can do a lot
Pretty
without
much anything they
having
want
So
anyway.
they're not strapped.
No. They aren't forced to come get a conditional use if they wanna expand, like what, the Lincoln County Museum would have to.
Right.
Well, I know a guy who runs one of these places, and it's kind of a pain to have to think of that every time.
Yep.
I mean, we're getting ready to build a fairly substantial building out there, and we're gonna have to come in here and get a permit for it.
Again, do you have someplace where you can get ideas from another city?
Yep. Yep.
About what
And
they
that's-
have found to work well with that? Because, what does Carney do?
Yeah. And, I hate to have 50 different zoning districts, so I wanted to try and get something that was gonna encompass quite a few of those. Another comment, somebody asked about golf courses. because they're also ag districts, they're conditional uses as ag districts. But again, I'm not sure that we wanna open it up that far, I don't know. So I can check and see.
But certainly there would be some common sense you could bake into that district somewhere, where if it's, everybody knows we produce rodeos and put on concerts, well, if it's a logistical building that conforms with what we do,
Right.
Well, what's your new building for?
it's a logistical building to help with, it's got showers and green rooms and the catering area, the kind of things we need to help us operate that currently we do out underneath a tent, or we do with porta-johns or with trailers or that sort of stuff. We're doing those things anyway, but we're trying to make it a more permanent, nicer place for folks when they come in and work for us in some way.
So that's another thing, when you're driving around town, think of, areas that would maybe fit that special events district, and then we're gonna have to write those codes broad enough that it would cover whatever those are that are in that district, or future, what we think would be in that district. That's kinda all I have.
I would like to go back to the home occupation and home
Okay.
whatever. The signage that is in this new one, and I hadn't had a chance to check for sure on the signage in here, says that it would have the resident's name and address only. Wouldn't it have the business?
Well, there
And-
again, that
and-
gets
and we
into
don't-
advertising.
Yes, it would advertise.
But isn't that the purpose of a sign in the first place?
That's
Yeah.
that's what it was in the back of my mind,
Yeah.
was that if I'm that Avon representative and I want it to be, want you to, when you're driving by, it's that house with the Avon sign, not Marilyn McGann. So that was one thing
One thing that
I
struck
thought
you.
in there,
Okay.
that perhaps it could be either or.
Or do you want them to be able to put up signs in the first place in any residential district? And,
I don't want those signs that I see all around town, no.
well, and that's, I drive by one periodically that I can think of, and it's, I think it's in an R2. If I was that person's neighbors, I don't know that I'd want to look at that every day.
But you
But-
must not be their neighbors because their neighbors aren't complaining.
Must not be.
Yep.
So is this in place now?
That one is, yes,
So if you're running something out of your home, you're supposed to get a permit?
yes. And I will guarantee you, there's a lot of people that are running things out of their homes that do not have permits, but yes, the honest people do have permits, or the ones that.
Maybe I have a cake decorating business.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's several of those.
Lots of them.
And there are some people that just didn't know that they needed a permit. I mean, I do get those quite a bit too.
Yeah. I would have never thought I would have needed a permit to have a cake decorating business or to have an Avon business. I wouldn't have dawned on me that
Yeah,
I needed a permit.
there's a lot of people out there that, yeah, they don't know. The ones that do know are the ones that get their, FFL permits because the federal government requires them, so they always come and get theirs.
Interesting.
Yep.
Huh.
So I assume this will be another topic for our next meeting also?
Definitely, I just wanted some direction of where you guys were thinking, so, I'll keep moving forward with that. We'll probably bring the home occupation. I'll make sure you get a copy of what I'm thinking for the special events district, and then I'll, see if I can get some different ones from, Kearney and Grand Island and just see kind of where they're at with them.
Perfect.
Well, hopefully I still get to park my truck in my driveway after this.
Well, I don't know. Are you my neighbor? No, you're not my neighbor.
So it is you complaining.
Yeah.
But if you have any suggestions on
Big trailer
those
full of
topics,
scrap wood
give
that
me
we
a call,
cut down.
stop by, let me know.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
All right,
Any other old business? Any old business?
old business.
Old business. How about new business?
Nebraska
Yes.
Planning and Zoning Association, I sent you guys all out that email. If you can go, I do strongly encourage you to go. If you can't, I do understand that, a lot of us have full-time jobs, so we can't get out of there. 14th, 15th, and 16th are the dates, so if you do want to attend, let me know. There's some really good topics. I do have some, descriptions, better descriptions of those, so if you wanna go, let me know.
Maybe there's something on home occupations and home-based businesses, huh? Or, event,
Special events
event
districts, yeah.
zoning, whatever, that would be good.
Okay.
I would really encourage, if at all possible, because even for a portion of it, very good.
Yep, and you can go 1 day, 2 days, or all 3 days.
It's
so.
September, right, Judy? You didn't
Yeah.
say that.
Yes,
Yes,
September.
September, sorry, September.
It's on the email.
So we'll be
Email.
notified a couple times before it ever gets here then.
Yes.
Not notified, but visited about it.
You want me to call you and nag you? I could do that. Is there anything else? We are adjourned.
All right, thank you guys.
Have a good night.
All right, I want this, I want this. This. The rest can stay.